Hey there, hi there, ho there. We're as happy as can be, aren't we? Yes, it's another episode 126 of Countdown to Restoration. And we are glad to have you with us as we're counting down today, what is a very dark day for the Biden regime. Their worst fears almost come true. And so we will get into that shortly as we chronicle this dark day for the thief in chief. The thief in chief. Yeah, the thief in chief. Yeah, we finally got in sync. All right, buddy, have a good one. Go, buy a mask. What do you mean buy a mask? Oh, you'll see. All right. Now, if you ever want to just catch up on past episodes, rewatch an episode like you might want to today, you can watch YouTube channel Danny Thompson, Rumble channel DANWT. And so that way you can keep up with it, as does Dr. Richard Levine. I'm not sure about Dr. Rachel Levine, probably just to get the lawsuit in order. Here you have the before and after picture of Richard and Rachel. Identical twins, really, except, oh no, they're both males. No, it's all the same person, ladies and gentlemen, come on. And that's really all the time we have for them today. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. We forgot the song. I was wanting to move on because there is so much to do today and some good stuff. Sad stuff, but good stuff. Major phone quake there. Yeah, a little bit more than a woman. Yep. All right, these people, Secular Democrats of America, find them at seculardemocratsofamerica.org, as they are working to make us a godless society and end true democracy as we know it, even though they say the opposite. Please go and find out what they're about. You need to do this. What do you think, Johnny? Mas COVID news today. If you haven't heard, you might, on a normal day, you might think this is the big news, especially if you're an animal lover. San Diego Zoo snow leopard was coughing. A test showed he had COVID-19. So we're giving this to animals. I mean, this is sad. Now everybody's going to get upset, right? What else do we have? Oh, yesterday the Department of Veterans Affairs mandated COVID vaccines. Today the Department of Justice declares vaccine mandates legal. Yeah, so California, or the VA, New York City, they can all do it. Federal law does not prohibit public agencies and private businesses from requiring COVID-19 vaccines that are under emergency use authorization, the Department of Justice concluded in an opinion. It's just their opinion. 3 major government entities, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, California, and New York City, said Monday they would require some or all of their government employees to get vaccinated or be tested weekly. The vaccines are still waiting full approval from the Food and Drug Administration. So they are not deemed totally safe. So we've got that. Oh, that's really big news, huh? Now, this from Scotland. People shielding 5 times more likely to die of COVID, Scottish study finds. meaning those that are most vulnerable to the disease, if they just stay indoors and stay away from everybody as they come out because their immune system is weakened, they are more likely to die from the disease than if they haven't shielded at all. So that would be big news, you would think. But no. Oh yes, CDC recommends fully vaccinated wear masks in certain indoor areas, advises universal masking for schools. Yes, shot or no shot. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said today that fully vaccinated individuals should wear masks in certain indoor areas and advise universal masking for schools regardless of individuals' vaccination status amid rising infections due to the Delta variant. Yes. And it is Tuesday, and let us interject right now because I nearly forgot till I was reminded when I said it's Tuesday. That's today. It being Tuesday, this, ladies and gentlemen, is what? Taco. Where'd you go, buddy? Where'd you go, Tico? Remember Tico Taco? Taco Tuesday. Yay! Arriba, andale. Little Speedy Gonzales there. None of this meant racist. Everybody loves a taco. So we forgot. Don't want you to be upset. It is Taco Tuesday. And so it's also Mask Tuesday. Yes, just had my mind on the mask and I forgot the more important things. Oh, we got some good things coming up. It's going to be fun today, even though it's terribly sad. In areas with substantial and high transmission, CDC recommends that fully vaccinated individuals wear a mask in public indoor settings to help prevent spread of Delta and protect others. The agency wrote ahead of a briefing. Though rare breakthrough infections do occur in fully vaccinated individuals, however, unvaccinated populations account for nearly all current hospitalizations and recent deaths. Oh, did we get that one in? No, we didn't. Okay. Well, let's go and get that then, because I neglected that. And let's show one that, wait a minute, kind of got through. If I can find it here. Where is it? Is it this one? Yes. Here we go. Yeah, we're just kind of doing things on the fly today. Sorry about that. So excited about other things. Fully vaccinated New Orleans woman dies of COVID, age 33, in rare breakthrough case. 33-year-old woman who was fully vaccinated against COVID-19 has died from the virus in a rare breakthrough case. Yeah, just started a new business, said she wasn't feeling well, and bam, went to the hospital, sent her home, and then just the next day getting worse and died. In a significant shift from prior guidance, the health agency also recommended universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to K through 12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. Oh, the kids are going to love to hear that. Now, here in Texas, they can't order masking of kids, so I don't know. In recent days, I've seen new scientific data from sequenced outbreak investigations showing that the Delta variant behaves uniquely different from past strains of the virus that caused COVID-19. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky, I wonder how long she's going to keep her job, be resigning soon due to the pressure, I'm sure. Kind of pull a Simone Biles, or however you say her name. Anyway, a little Olympic reference there. Anyhow, CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky told reporters over a call, information on the Delta variant from several states and other countries indicate that in rare occasions, some vaccinated people infected with the Delta variant after vaccination may be contagious and spread the virus to others. So everybody gets to mask up. This new science is worrisome and unfortunately warrants an update to our recommendations. All right, so that gets all that in, and there's, this is where the virus is heaviest: California, Texas, Florida, New York State, Pennsylvania, anyway. Okay, now this is the problem and why you must mask whether you have been vaccinated or not. A leading U.S. disease expert says there's no doubt in my mind that vaccinated people are helping spread Delta. And boy, Joe just spoke too soon, didn't he, at his little town hall last week. Vaccinated people are well protected from severe illness and death, even as the Delta variant surges. But it's possible for fully vaccinated people to be asymptomatic and spread COVID-19 to others. A top disease modeler who advises the White House said vaccinated people should still wear masks. Get the mask on. Now, I've kind of mixed a couple of articles here, so if they kind of look different or sound different, that's why. The uncertainty about Delta results in part from how it differs from previous versions of the coronavirus. Although its mode of transmission is the same, it is inhaled, usually in indoor spaces. Delta is thought to be about twice as contagious as the original virus. Significantly, early evidence also suggests that people infected with the Delta variant may carry roughly 1,000-fold more virus than those infected with the original virus. While that does not seem to mean that they get sicker, it does probably mean that they are more contagious and for longer. Yes. Additional data is emerging from the COVID-19 Sports and Society Work Group, a coalition of professional sports leagues that is working closely with the CDC. Sports teams in the group are testing more than 10,000 people at least daily and sequencing all infections, according to Dr. Roby Sika, a physician who worked with the NBA's Minnesota Timberwolves. Aren't they the new champs? Yeah. Does anybody care? Breakthrough infections other than in Minnesota. If you're in Minnesota, go Wolves. I don't know, what do you do for it? Breakthrough infections in the leagues seem to be more common with the Delta variant than with the Alpha, and we just went right through Beta and Charlie. I mean, who knows? The variant first identified in Britain, he said. As would be predicted, the vaccines cut down the severity and duration of illness significantly, with players returning less than 2 weeks after becoming infected, compared with nearly 3 weeks earlier in the pandemic. But while they are infected, the players carry very high amounts of virus for 7 to 10 days, compared with 2 or 3 days in those infected with Alpha. Dr. Sika said infected players are required to quarantine, so the project has not been able to track whether they spread the virus to others, but it's likely that they would, he added. If they're just put willy-nilly back into society, I think you're going to have spread from vaccinated individuals, he said. They don't even recognize they have COVID because they think they're vaccinated. Elise Freitas was shocked to discover that 15 vaccinated people became infected at her wedding. Dr. Freitas, 34, a biologist at the University of Oklahoma, said she had been very cautious throughout the pandemic and already had postponed her wedding once, but after much deliberation, she celebrated the wedding indoors on July 10th, and goes on to tell how everybody was vaccinated, but how did that happen? Well, it probably happened, they said, during the bachelorette party, going to bars in Oklahoma City, and caught it from unvaccinated or whatever. How do you know? But the thing is, even if you've been vaccinated, the virus grows in your body. You may not be sick. Now, as you can imagine, there were, because this news came out before the official announcement, and Jen didn't even lead with this in her little talk before the questions. She was ready, but boy, did she get bombarded, and a lot of actually good questions, and a lot of reporters not understanding, just like a lot of people aren't understanding. Why is this, Jen? So we're gonna have a little bit, and it's okay. We're gonna learn a lot. So is Jen. Take it away.
And I have a few questions on the CDC's revised masking guidance that some vaccinated Americans should wear masks indoors where there's risk of high transmission or currently high transmission. That covers, according to the CDC, about 63% of the country right now, which has significant or high transmission. So how will the White House get Americans to start wearing masks when they've gone for more than 2 months without them? Will we see the president speak more about this? I mean, how exactly do you plan to push this publicly? And then along those same lines, on July 4th, the president gave his sort of independence from the virus speech. He declared, quote, "We are closer than ever to declaring our independence from a deadly virus," and, quote, "We've gained the upper hand on the virus." Was that declaring premature victory? And are you at all concerned that those statements will make it tougher for you guys to implement this revised guidance now?
Sure. Well, first, I know this is slightly awkward timing, and I know there's a lot of reporting out there about the CDC guidance. It is not only appropriate for them to make the decisions, it's also appropriate for them to officially announce their own guidance. I will say, though, that how we view this, as you asked about, Alex, implementation of their guidelines that they'll outline on a call with all of you later this afternoon, that we are still in the midst of a once-in-a-generation pandemic, battling an ever-evolving virus. We have said since the beginning of June that the Delta variant, a rising variant that had increasing, was clear from the beginning, had a great deal of transmissibility, was a threat to people who were unvaccinated. We did more than 100 interviews with officials conveying exactly that. And the reality is we are dealing with a much different strain of this virus than we were even earlier in the spring, back in May, when the masking guidance was done, provided by the CDC at that time. That is their job. Their job is to look at evolving information, evolving data, an evolving historic pandemic, and provide guidance to the American public. That's exactly what they will do, and what they will provide specific details on later this afternoon.
With respect to the president's comments, though, do you, in retrospect, regret those comments? Do you think that that was wise at the time, considering, they could make it tougher for Americans to take this seriously?
Well, first I would say that in the president's remarks, he also made clear, and I'm quoting him, that today, while the virus hasn't been vanquished, he made clear that it was not over, that those who were unvaccinated were still at risk. He made clear that you were protected from serious illness, disease, or hospitalization if you were vaccinated. That remains the case, and he encouraged people who were not vaccinated to get vaccinated. But again, the role of the federal government and our public health officials is to continue to look at evolving data, evolving threats of a historic virus, provide that public health guidance to the American people to protect more people and save more lives. That's what they're doing.
Not really fully answering the question, but doing the usual dodge. We've said this, we've said that. So we continue on with this. I'll be honest, Jen's not my favorite person, and it's hard for me to feel sorry for her, but she did work pretty hard today and still didn't feel sorry for her. They were pretty smug about everything. And now they're getting the blame for it because the Delta's all on them. Remember everybody blaming Trump for every death, blaming Trump for everything that went wrong under a disease he didn't start? Well, it's pretty tough, isn't it?
Is the summer of freedom, as the president described it, is that still operative now, given the change in the Delta variant?
Well, I would say first, I have this little handy chart. I suspected that we might talk a little bit about COVID today, understandably. And what I would note is that what has not changed is the fact that people are who are vaccinated have a huge deal of protection from serious illness, from hospitalization, and from death. And I know Shannon, actually, I see her in the back there, asked a good question yesterday about the data. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a better understanding of how this data process works. So the data that Dr. Walensky, the CDC director, spoke to back in July was based on data up through the beginning of June, or the end of May, the beginning of June. That will be updated in August as it relates to individuals who are hospitalized or get sick who are vaccinated, and those who are unvaccinated, what hospitalizations look like as the percentage breaks down. But this is all based on data from either state officials or health agencies or the Florida Hospital Association as it relates to the Florida specific example here. And how the information flows, to your question earlier yesterday, Shannon, is it goes from hospitals to states to the CDC. So I'm using this example to show you because this kind of breaks through the reporting of this data. This is from hospital systems that will go to states. And what you can see here, Florida, which is one of the states with the one of the highest transmissive, or one of the highest rates of COVID, I should say. Officials have said that more than 95% of those who were hospitalized were not vaccinated. That is information from last week, or just a couple of days ago. North Carolina, unvaccinated make up more than 99% of new COVID cases in May and June. That's from a few weeks ago, but still updated data. Colorado, more than 96% of Colorado's COVID hospitalizations, deaths in the first half of 2021 were among unvaccinated. I'm using these examples because even as the masking guidance is put out later today by the CDC, we are still going to be sending a very clear message to the public that in order to protect yourself, save your life, save the lives of those around you, need to get vaccinated. Masking is guidance, but...
Yeah, can I follow up with you on this data point? Because, I appreciate you looking into this. It seems the problem from when I...
All right, before we follow up with that data point, let's examine this, the Summer of Freedom. Remember that? No mask, we can go out and do it. Also, I really wonder how 96% of all of Colorado's deaths in the first half of 2021 were unvaccinated, since people didn't start getting the vaccination, really. I mean, there weren't high levels of vaccination rates till into March, were there? March and later? Anyway, just a side thought. But Summer of Freedom, yeah, that's down the toilet. Or wherever COVID stuff goes, I don't know. But that got me thinking. Another brilliant man once declared a certain summer, and he found out you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't go around declaring victory, as George W. Bush found out after Iraq, which it was a victory, mission accomplished on taking over Iraq. Just the victory didn't last long, because after you got there and took it over, you had to keep it. And that was the problem, wasn't it? Yeah, Joe, after we got here, we got to keep it. And it's a virus. It changes. Seems like Dr. Walensky, whom no one is expressing great confidence in her today, is in trouble some. But who was that other brilliant person who declared a certain summer one day, and how did it turn out for them? Well, let's take a look. You might remember this if you ever watched Seinfeld. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't.
I proclaim this the Summer of Jaws! Summer of Jaws.
Didn't go well for him either, did it? Yeah, don't do this summer stuff. Man. But I think a lot of politicians would have walked right into that because they think they're invincible. Sad thing is, people aren't invincible. Virus is virus. Now, a lot of people think we're at the peak of it because viruses do virus. They run and they play themselves out. They might start up again, but England's streak is going down. So, but we continue because there are more questions. And people, inquiring minds, want to know. Remember that?
because I appreciate you looking into this. It seems the problem from when I talk to doctors, though, is that the Delta variant is evolving this situation so rapidly that even data from May or June might not be representative of what's happening now.
This is from July. A number of these examples are from July.
It was only July 9th, I think, or mid-July, which I know isn't that long ago, that the Delta variant became the dominant spread. So, when I talk to hospitals in places like Nevada, Missouri, Kansas City, those doctors are saying they're seeing more like 1 in 10, which I know is still not a majority, but it's different than some of these numbers. The situation in May and June, for the first half of the year, when most people weren't vaccinated, is much different than it is now. So are you guys aware of that? Are you talking to people in some of the harder hit areas about what they're seeing?
Well, Shannon, one, I think it's really important to project data across a spectrum, right? Not from individual hospitals or individual cases, because what people are really looking at, or what we're looking at, is how it relates to across state data. Florida, this data is from 4 days ago. Florida is one of the states that has the highest rate. It accounts for about 20% of COVID cases in the country from the last data I saw. This is from 4 days ago. 95% of those who were hospitalized were not vaccinated. That's across Florida data from the Florida Hospital Association. Of course, we absolutely look at data, as does the CDC, and we're going to continue to evaluate and assess. But because this data goes into what the CDC reports, I thought it would be relevant to all of you to see and understand how we look at the across the state.
Yeah, doctors, hospitals, people who deal with it on a daily basis and don't have the luxury of waiting on data, have been saying for a while, the CDC is behind this Delta variant. And waiting for data isn't helping us out in the field. Now, I'm not a mask guy. So far, I'm not even a vaccination guy. I believe it was a summer of freedom even before freedom was declared. But the virus, as one lofty virus investigator said all through 2020, virus is gonna virus. And there's a lot of things. A lot of people are hurt. But, man, this is tough stuff. Of course, China, again, rejects any attempt to do any deeper investigations on the start of it. Why? Because they know where it started. And most people now believe it had to be engineered because it's not acting like a normal coronavirus.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. The CDC data showed, though, on July 6th that the Delta variant was the prominent strain, 51.7% of cases. So what took so long between then
Even
and
higher now.
So
as
that's
you know.
so that's what led to the change in guidance.
I'm sure you will get on the call with the CDC later this afternoon, and I think that's a great question to ask them. Our guidance is based on the public health experts and what they are advising in terms of steps that should be taken. I think it's, though, important to note, it has always been the case that the guidance has been, if you are not vaccinated, to wear a mask. That has not changed. That has been the case from the beginning. And also to get vaccinated if you're not vaccinated.
Of course, the problem isn't unvaccinated people wearing masks. The problem people are having is vaccinated people wearing masks, Jen. But then, being Jen, she does what? She just keeps giving the same old. Let's see. Where are we in this? Okay. Got a few more. I told you, she got a lot of questions on this today.
President's message was get vaxxed or masked, and now it's get vaxxed and masked in some cases. So does he regret sending the message that it was a binary choice there?
Well, Leisha, I think that those comments were back in May, and as I noted at the time, the Delta variant was by no means a variant the variant that it is today. It was not even I can look at this specific data, but it was 99% of cases were not Delta at the time. That was based on guidance from the CDC. Today, they're changing their guidance. They're changing their advice to the American public, their public health advice, based on evolving data and an evolving historical guidance. That virus. That's exactly what they should be doing.
And what is your message to Americans who are feeling whiplash right now? Why should they trust the same group of health officials who just 2 months ago told them they don't have to wear a mask anymore inside?
Because our goal is to save their lives. And our responsibility and the responsibility of public health officials is to continue to provide updated guidance if it warrants from an evolving virus.
We should trust them because their job is to save lives. That's right. In the CDC, their job is to keep up with data and give recommendations as they deal with an evolving virus. But the regime, Biden himself, is now the lifesaver in chief. Okay, go ahead. Lifesaver in chief. Yeah, all right, buddy, all right. Go back. Thought you were gone for the day. Anyway, so that's their job. That's why you should trust them. That's why I'm sure they would give the same excuse to inner city black people marching against the police. You should trust the police because their job is to save your life. Yeah, that would go over big, huh? Well, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I think they've got their hands full, and even a trusted ally is kind of critical on voting rights, as we've seen in the past, but Miss April wants to know some things.
Go ahead, April.
Okay, Jen, a couple of questions. On COVID, are we at a point where we are saying that there's just no absolutes when it comes to what's happening in this moment?
No, we're not at that point.
Because we're possibly beginning to wear masks again in buildings. Kids could possibly be wearing masks in school. And those who are vaccinated are getting breakthrough COVID cases. So you're saying...
Look, I think here's what we all have a responsibility to do, is to provide the guidance and clear information that is being presented by public health officials to the American public, not to project confusion, but to alleviate the confusion. And it is also, it's incumbent upon the public health officials to continue to look at and evaluate and make recommendations based on data to save people's lives and protect people from getting the virus, being hospitalized, or of course dying.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how they do it. April's question was good. As she wore her mask, obviously read ahead. Are we at a point where really nobody knows? There are no absolutes. We can't just say this works or that works. Oh, no, we're not at that point. Well, Jen didn't seem too confident, did she? I don't think she did. I think Jen is feeling a little doubtful and a little overwhelmed. As I think any press secretary would be, just thrown out there not knowing what's going on. All right, we also have a little Peter and Jen time. I know you love it.
Morning, Ralph. Morning, Sam.
That's his view.
And then on the CDC guidance, why did the president say, if you've been fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask? Let me repeat, if you are fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask, if it was possible that that was going to turn out not to be true.
Well, Peter, I think we're all dealing with an evolving virus where there's no playbook and no historic precedent. And what the American people should feel confident in is that we are going to continue to be guided by science, look at public health data in order to provide new guidance if it's needed to save lives, protect the American people. When he made those comments back in May, we were dealing with a very different strain of the virus than we are today. And Delta is more transmissible. It's spreading much more quickly. It was nearly non-existent in the United States back in May.
And so my last one would be, you guys have been saying this is a pandemic of the vaccinated. If that is coming from the CDC, is the president satisfied with the leadership at the CDC right now?
The president is satisfied with the fact that they are continuing to look at public health data and provide public health guidance to the American public about how they can protect their lives and the lives of loved ones around them.
And if it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated still, then why do vaccinated people need to put the masks back on?
Well, Peter, first of all, I would say again, just to go back to this chart, which I will handily point to again, if you were vaccinated, it can save your life. And I think the clear data shows that this pandemic is killing, is hospitalizing, is making people very sick who are not vaccinated. That still continues to be the case, regardless of what the mask guidance looks like.
The vaccines work, which this sign says that they do. Then why do people who have had the vaccine need to now wear masks, the same as people who have not had it?
Because the public health leaders in our administration have made the determination based on data that that is a way to make sure they're protected, their loved ones are protected, and that's an extra step given the transmissibility of the virus that that they're advising people to take. Go ahead.
Good night, Ralph. See you tomorrow, Sam.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you, sir?
No, she doesn't, and bless her little heart. No one does. Because no one knows what's after the Delta. We already told you there's a new one, a B.1 something. I don't know. I don't remember. There's always going to be a new variant. I don't think we can wipe this thing out. They're never going to know. But everybody expected Donald Trump to personally know, didn't they? Biden's basically blamed the whole pandemic on him. Well, now what do you do? CDC is changing guidelines and saying this and that. Now I'm telling you, teachers' unions are not going to get back into the schoolroom. They're looking at a lot of problems. Their world, just like Donald Trump's world, is balancing on a virus that changes its position all of the time. So, welcome to the world you wanted. Let's see what you can do with it. So far, not so good, huh? Well, let's have a little Uncle Joe time.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate. Come and be her guest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe. He's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction.
Okay. You might remember yesterday, myself not being known for letting a good thing go, we read to you a little bit of Joe's speech, which he has said this portion before, parts of it anyway, and because of time, he's talking about when he got elected to the Senate, 29 years old, his wife tragically killed in an auto accident, daughter as well. But then he says, this is 1972, and I needed help. I was a senator making $42,000 a year. I could no longer afford daycare and someone to take care of my kids. Now that's his pay. That's not his wife's pay. And wasn't she staying home taking care of the kids? He could no longer afford it. His pay didn't go down. And he's saying that wasn't enough money to pay for daycare back in 1972. Well, we showed you. It's there written in my scribble. The average pay, annual pay for your average person was around $7,100, a little over that. Some sites say a little higher. But that got me thinking, let's look at some other prices in 1972. And guess what? We've even got a song for it. I didn't know there was a 1972 song either. Wasn't that just waiting for me, huh? All right, let's look at some prices back in 1972. And actually, the average cost of a house, I think that's a little high there. $30,500. So making $42,000, you make almost the cost of an average house. Now again, that goes all the way down to, the small 2-bedroom up to the nicest house you could get. The average cost. A cost of a first class stamp was 10 cents. Now, let's see. I started school in 68. So I was in 5th grade. That would be 69, 79. I think that's a little high because I remember being in 5th grade and the cost of a stamp was still 8 cents, but okay. I could be wrong. I'll have to look that one up. Cost of a gallon of regular gas before ethanol, 36 cents, and summer blends. Cost of a dozen eggs, 52 cents. Cost of a gallon of milk, $1.20. So, even if these were prices from the Northeast, which they probably are, because I think everything was a little cheaper. Joe was technically in the Northeast, even though Washington, D.C. and Delaware are a little closer to the South. Anyway, 42 grand a year, I think you could have afforded daycare, Joe. Again, adjusted for inflation, his $42,000 was over $200,000. He wouldn't even get hit by his own tax increases. Again, this man is out of touch with reality, and he uses that like 42,000 is the same then as it is now. In fact, on this price, I remember my mom worked for a doctor, and the doctor married our next door neighbor, and they moved in to a house, a new development, lovely. It was 5 houses around this little pond fed by a creek. Me and my brother would go there and fish sometimes. Large house, huge house. Today, the house, it's in Dallas, would have to be, I'm guessing it would have to sell for about $600,000. He bought it for around $20,000 at that time. And I remember him telling my dad, you should go buy one there. They're only $20,000. And that was so out of our price range. So out of our price range. 1972, it's like, oh man, he should have bought it. Yeah, but $20,000 was a lot. Joe made over 2 times that amount every year. Scamming you. Always scamming you. The man's no good. And this won't help your opinion of him. Biden U.S. Attorney nominee has lengthy do not prosecute list. One of his first, a black female U.S. attorney to head her district. President Biden's nominee to lead the U.S. Attorney's office in Massachusetts is soft on crime, progressive, who has declined to prosecute low-level offenses such as shoplifting, trespassing, and drug possession. The way they're not doing in California. In California, they just have these bands that go by, that they run into nice stores, just grab everything they can, have cars waiting on them, pick them up and go, because what's going to happen? Nothing. Such low-level offenses include trespassing, shoplifting, larceny, disorderly conduct, receiving stolen property, driving with a suspended license, wanton or malicious destruction of property. She doesn't believe in prosecuting that. So your neighbor could come over if he's mad at you and just trash your house. Wouldn't prosecute. Threats. They threatened to kill me. Did they do it? No. Well, you're okay. Let's just move on. Underage drinking, drug possession, possession with intent to distribute, and resisting arrest. She doesn't feel the need to prosecute these things. And he wants her to move up. Wow, you weren't doing your job so good, I'm going to promote you. Now, we've all known people who got promotions and we knew they weren't doing their job. But the people higher up didn't know. But this person put out a statement about it, started a little group to expand her ideas of not keeping the law. Yeah. Republicans are likely to protest Rollins' nomination amid rising crime rates in big cities across the country and the national debate over the impact of the defund the police movement. A judge in Minneapolis actually ordered the city to hire 715 or 735 new police officers as fast as possible because they are working so hard to defund the police, and Minneapolis is a mess, according to all reports. Biden's nominee to be a federal prosecutor effectively legalized shoplifting and possession with intent to distribute drugs, Senator Tom Cotton, Republican from Arkansas, tweeted Tuesday. Think crime is bad now, just wait. Now, I'd like to give her a benefit of a doubt. I mean, really, just because you're threatening someone with harm or death, how many people always mean that, right? I mean, just because you're trashing somebody's property, does that still make you a bad person? Because you're committing larceny? Should that really be a crime? Anyway, people overreact to everything, don't they? Brother of top Biden advisor lobbied executive office of the president on behalf of General Motors. How could that be in the most ethical regime ever? Jeff Ricchetti lobbied the National Security Council on behalf of General Motors in the second quarter, a lobbying report says. The report shows that Jeff Ricchetti, who is the brother of top Biden advisor Steve Ricchetti, or Ricchetti probably, engaged with the NSC for National Security Council for the car-making giant on issues related to China. This is the latest example of Ricchetti getting access into the Biden White House since his brother officially became a senior advisor to the commander-in-chief. Now, not only that, but Ricchetti is hiring his kids, his family, and there's other lobbying things going on. But primarily, GM has a car that's made in China, and under Trump, it's subject to a tariff. It was subject to a tariff. Well, they wanted Trump to let their car in. Trump said, no, the tariff's going to have to remain. So they're trying to get that tariff taken off. So far, nothing from the Biden regime. But we are assured that Ricchetti is not personally lobbying the president himself, even though the president is the head of the National Security Council. Anyway, so, what you say, little guy?
Say it ain't so, Joe.
Yes, so. Okay. We move on because everything else moves on. Hey, how about a little Desi?
I'll see ya. Didn't see you.
bit of Cuba news. Wow. We are standing strong and tough trying to help that island nation where so many of our citizens came from, fleeing the evil communist regime there that the regime seems to identify with. But 20 countries and U.S. condemn mass arrests in Cuba following the protest. Yeah, because Cuba, being a welcoming society that actually stands up for civil liberties and rights, went around identifying people who were out protesting and arresting them. Democracies around the world are calling on the Cuban government to respect Cubans' demands for universal human rights. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. I'm just guessing that is going to have a lot of impact on the Cuban regime. I just think they're probably going to let everybody out. Just like when we say that, it helps in China, helps in Russia, helps in Hong Kong, who one of their protesters got arrested and was sentenced and found guilty for saying the same anti-government slogan that everybody was chanting. What were the odds? Yeah, we're really helping. That's how come Cuban Americans are not happy with the Biden regime. We go right to the Foreign Affairs Department. Russia building 2 new doomsday planes, following Putin's order. These are planes designed to take the top Russians skyward in case of a nuclear attack upon their country. So not only will they be safe, but they can also direct the armed forces. I understand shielding a country's leaders from attack, but what wouldn't be nice if they made planes for everybody? But that just shows you Russia doesn't think the world is such a safe place and that the Biden regime has made it better. And along with that, we told you the other day that China was practicing beach landings with their military, showing the world they can invade Taiwan. Well, China converts car ferries for amphibious assault, which would make sense. The little ramp goes up and down. Actually, it's a big ramp, and that way they can just use that to ferry across to Taiwan. You know, the world's pretty dangerous, and I don't think Uncle Joe's helping, do you? No, just my opinion. France has an opinion. France says Iran endangers compromising chance for a nuclear deal. That's right, Iran not so high right now on getting back in that old agreement. They seem pretty happy with the way things are. They just want the sanctions dropped. France's foreign ministry said on Monday that Iran was endangering the chance of concluding an accord with world powers over reviving its 2015 nuclear deal if it did not return to the negotiating table soon. If it continues on this path, not only will it continue to delay when an agreement to lift sanctions can be reached, but it risks jeopardizing the very possibility of concluding the Vienna talks and restoring the JCPOA, or Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Who thought that up? Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Agnes von der Mühle told reporters in a daily briefing. So, just old Joe's made a heck of a difference, hasn't he? White House officials tell lawmakers they will need $1 billion in emergency funding for Afghan visa effort. And you know, we need to get these people out of Afghanistan if they helped us. Canada's already acted on that and moving swiftly. We're still working on it. $500 billion for the Homeland Security, $500 billion for the Defense Department. But if we weren't spending so much money on the southern border, we probably wouldn't need the extra money here. So, do we have any money news? cut them short today. Running out of time. Too much COVID stuff. Dem-sponsored changes to death taxes could cost almost 1 million U.S. jobs, study finds. Yeah, if you bought something, they want it taxed not at what you spend on it, but its current value after you die and you pass it on to your family, which would really hurt family-owned businesses, farms, ranches, restaurants, whatever. It also will hurt stock investments and things like that. And so this is really bad. This can hurt pretty bad. Sustained annual job losses from eliminating the provision as outlined in the STEP Act would range from 500,000 to nearly 1 million, according to the analysis conducted by the nonpartisan firm Regional Economic Models, Inc., which was commissioned by the conservative-leaning Committee to Unleash Prosperity. Yes, you have to be a conservative to want to unleash prosperity. The STEP Act, I know, isn't that just ridiculous? The STEP Act would eliminate step-up in basis by taxing unrealized capital gains when heirs inherit assets on which the original owner never paid income taxes, because it wouldn't be income. If you started a ranch, or if you had inherited from your father or whatever, or a business, you just move, at the time, you don't pay income tax on that. You pay taxes on what you make off of it. But if you die and it went to your heir, say I'm your son, I'm sorry, you could have done better. Anyway, and I get it. Well, that's considered income for me, and I would have to pay income taxes on the value of that, which doesn't even make sense, and it is an economy killer, but they don't care about that. In addition to job losses, Remy's analysis projected a 1 trillion loss in GDP over 10 years, which would just nullify Biden's projected gains over all of his plans, and a 600 billion loss in private investment over the same time period. Projected losses in personal income over the course of a decade were about 1 trillion, which would translate to 8,000 to 10,000 per household. So it's pretty steep there. Conservative economist Steve Moore, who is a principal at the Committee to Unleash Prosperity and served as an economic advisor to President Trump. Well, then why would we listen to him? Trump didn't know anything about making the country wealthier. Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? Because he had good economic advisors who understood how money and taxes and everything really works to help or hurt the economy. But wow, can't do that anymore, can we? Said the study shows President Biden's death tax scheme would assault the American tradition of passing on family-owned businesses over generations. Many families will literally have to sell the farm to pay the Biden taxes, Moore said in a statement. The damage to jobs and the economy would be multiple times larger than any revenue gain for the government from this unfair tax proposal. Yeah, pretty bad. Pretty bad. But they don't care about that. Now, I'm sure there's some ways to pass it on through trust, etc. This hits everybody. Wages are rising, but inflation may have given workers a 2% pay cut. Well, why are wages rising? Because of the competition for employees. Average hourly wages grew 3.6 in June relative to last year, the most in over a decade. However, inflation essentially gave the average worker about a 2% pay cut, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Not everyone necessarily saw their real wages fall. The extent to which they did or didn't depends on many factors. There are also reasons to be cautious while interpreting the data due to pandemic distortions, according to economists. No, your check went down. The real effect of it, because prices went up. So you got all the hard work you did to get a new job and everything else, you got maybe a 1% raise. And it's going down every day. But these people don't care because they stand to profit from the infrastructure bill and the American family plan and everything else. More than 140 business leaders urge lawmakers to pass infrastructure bill. They don't care about you. They're not the good businesses. Now this shows you how precarious Democrats themselves view our recovery. Chuck Schumer says ending student loan pause would risk U.S. recovery. Democrats call on Biden to extend moratorium past September. Lawmakers repeat push to cancel up to $50,000 of student debt. The reason being is the economy can't handle everybody starting to pay back their debt. U.S. economic recovery could take a major hit if the Biden administration fails to extend the federal government's pandemic moratorium on student loan payments past September, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said. Resuming these payments could stall our country's economic recovery. It could bring millions of loan borrowers to the edge of financial crisis, Schumer said during a press conference in Washington on Tuesday. So that's how strong this recovery really is. And though it is going late, we're going to do this quickly. Quickly, guys. First of all, I want to say, everybody picks on ICE, but ICE nabs more than 300 illegal immigrant sex offenders since June as part of a national operation. Bravo, guys. Keep up the good work. And people want to abolish them. Okay, this is the new thing that part of what the regime is doing, because the numbers at the border are even overwhelming them. They can't keep up, even they want all of them here. U.S. to seek rapid deportations of migrant families traveling with children, which is not making their supporters happy. The Biden administration on Monday said it will seek to rapidly deport migrant families traveling with children who cross the southern border without legal permission. Migrant families who are not expelled to Mexico under current pandemic-related restrictions will be placed in expedited removal proceedings. How you do that when you ship them all over the country, I don't know. So if you already got in, you got in under the wire, which allow border authorities to carry out deportations without court hearings, which the Trump administration found out that was totally legal because they're not U.S. citizens and they have violated the law by coming across, Department of Homeland Security announced. Through expedited removal, U.S. border officials can circumvent the backlog-ridden immigration courts and summarily deport migrants to their home countries without affording them the same safeguards available during proceedings before an immigration judge. If migrants placed in the fast-track proceedings express fear of being harmed in their native countries, they are supposed to be interviewed by U.S. asylum officers. If they pass those interviews, migrants are allowed to present a full case for asylum in immigration court. And then, of course, they'll be shipped all over the country. There was a question on this because, wow, this is different for them, huh?
Expedited removals down on the border. As you know, there are advocates for immigrants who say that what this administration is now doing is taking away due process rights by empowering asylum officers to make decisions in the immediate moment for expedited removal. What's your response to that criticism? And on the other side of that coin, is it this administration's view that most of the people who are claiming credible fear on the border are not entitled to asylum?
Well, no, that is certainly not our claim. We are, of course, people who are applying for asylum who will go through the process, and if their case and their warrants, they will be granted asylum. What this is that I should say those families processed for expedited removal who claim fear will have the opportunity to present their cases before an immigration judge and request asylum or other forms of relief or protection from removal. So even those who are being processed, the processing of migrants for expedited removal is a traditionally employed lawful means to secure a border, and it is a step toward our broader aim of having a safe and orderly immigration system. I will say at the same time, we continue to work to build a fair, orderly, and humane immigration system. We recently expanded the Central American Minors Program and made 6,000 H-2B visas available to Central Americans. But we also want to be crystal clear. Attempting to cross into the United States between ports of entry or circumventing inspection of ports of entry is dangerous. It carries long-term immigration consequences. But no, we will still, of course, individuals who are applying for asylum, who warrant asylum, will be treated accordingly. Go ahead.
What do you think, panel? Let's go to you. I think they got so many people that don't know what to do, and they're just ready to throw them out because this is costing a fortune. How about you? I think they're turning their back on their core supporters here and their stated missions. Well, there you have it. One's wrong, one's right. Which one's right? But most illegal migrants, 77%, try to evade capture and don't want asylum anyway. The bulk of single adults trying to cross the U.S.-Mexican border do not want asylum and instead want to sneak in undetected, the latest sign that the illegal immigration crisis has reached a catastrophic stage. Really? You think it's reached a catastrophic stage now? Only now? More than 77% of the primary demographic apprehended are single adults attempting to evade arrest and not seek asylum, said the agency with emphasis. There have been 104,208 single adults encounters so far in fiscal year 21 compared to a total of 39,006 single adults encountered in the El Paso sector in fiscal year 20. Now, this is just the El Paso sector. This is not the whole of the border. The sector accounts for nearly 1/6 of the encounters with illegal immigrants along the southwest border. It is the sector Vice President Kamala Harris visited in her only trip to the border as President Joe Biden's immigration czar. And of course, this is just the number for those that get caught. It doesn't count the ones that nobody ever sees. What's more, they've been at the Border Patrol not only catching these people, but they have been involved in far more rescues and seizures of drugs. Presently, El Paso sector agents have arrested a total of 1,815 individuals in 195 stash houses. Agents have also foiled 920 smuggling schemes, human smuggling schemes, this fiscal year alone, said the agency in a release. But it's just now getting catastrophic. Good grief. All right, time for some insider information, which we call God formation. Yes, get some, the little flag waving and the fireworks. Isn't that great? Yeah, so anyway, we have some. A call came to Joe. Yeah, he liked it. A call to let Joe push more for his infrastructure bill and other bills. A call that gave him permission to go all out and to do whatever it takes to win. He has waited for this call, a call to basically let him be president. Oh, he's on his own. Don't know if this applies to China or anything else, but the restraints are off. He gets to go be the man. Should be interesting. It was noted that in his garden appearance yesterday, as they celebrated and did another executive order on the Americans with Disability Act, that again, he forgets Congress people's names. He didn't know some things. I mean, the guy's just really not doing good. And this is kind of worrisome First of all, it's about Susan Rice, so you know it's worrisome anyway. Susan Rice is pushing to approach voting rights from a different angle, from a point of protest, but a protest to block polling places in non-color precincts and to create difficulty for whites, for whites to vote. Yeah, conservative whites, that's it. After, of course, the protesters vote themselves, and there are precincts where basically the doors are being locked by all of these laws, and they're not allowed to vote anymore, you know, that all that stuff, which isn't true. A different type of civil disobedience. In other words, we couldn't get water while we were standing in line, so we're going to block your place to vote. So Susan Rice is pushing that. Of course, Kamala Harris is the one over that, but everybody knows Kamala is over nothing. All right, this too is concerning. It's concerning they're going to let Biden start acting like president, but these other two are very concerning. Peace is fleeting in the streets. They have discussed, the regime has discussed, how close they may be to new riots if there is not some movement by the time school starts. Movement on voting and police reform, and throw in DACA and border issues, and now COVID rising. They are also afraid that there will be counter protests by whites and that they will lose all control. They are planning responses for October. They think October is going to be a bad time. They think by then college campuses will be beginning to boil over. Ooh. What happened to the summer of George? Yeah, I mean, this is what they think. It's not what people are saying. I mean, they're planning for this. Voting rights, trying to shut down people from voting, that would be suppressing the vote, wouldn't it? Anyway. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. Told you, a lot of stuff. Kind of interesting. And thank you for watching. Thank you for showing up every day. Please feel free to share. And I think we got a lot of information in there people would like to know. But thank you again. God bless you. Pray for one another. Make your voices heard. Pray for America, and God bless America. We will see you tomorrow.